Hello, welcome back here in CAYDEN'S Weather Center. Right now it is September 4th, 2024, and we're continuing to pay attention to this tropical wave that is in the central Caribbean here. Over the past couple of hours, I will say we've seen a lot of deep convection kind of blowing up early this morning, and it's constantly having that convection just continuing on right here, and that's why you see a pretty nice big white area here. So the good news is the rain that has stopped over Hispaniola. That is at least some type of good news right there. Definitely a little bit of flash flooding was probably happening there yesterday, as there was a lot of rainfall from this tropical wave there. Now Jamaica needs to be on the lookout because we do have probably some gusty winds, a little bit of gusty winds here with some large amounts of rainfall heading for the Jamaican coast as this continues to move off to the west. The next that wants to be paying attention to it, Belize, the Yucatan here heading into possibly Mexico, and possibly the northern part of Honduras need to be paying attention to this tropical system very, very closely. As well as we're paying attention right now to the models. Some models bringing it still continuing on into the west, some models now bringing it into the northern Gulf of Mexico. So we have a lot to be paying attention to, and we're going to go over that in this video shortly. Taking a look here right now here at the National Hurricane Center, 30% chance here for formation in the next 7 days. This was an orange chance yesterday, but we can clearly see just south of Jamaica here, it's going to continue to move off. Still that area of development, still kind of still in the Caribbean, still the eastern part of the Yucatan and Belize, heading into the Gulf of Mexico, and that has the best opportunity according to the models. This area right here has the better opportunity for formation here in the next 7 days, and this will be going in throughout this weekend. We've been really paying attention to this tropical wave ever since it was in the MDR, so definitely has made a lot of progress, but not a lot of strength, and that is for sure. But one factor due to that is because of the kind of just the dry air that it's kind of going through right now. You kind of can see a little bit of dry air is going up into the northern part of the storm. That's kind of why we're starting to see nothing on the southern side of this tropical system here. We can clearly see that there is an X. That is kind of where our low pressure system is sitting in right there. Well, probably a little bit more off to the west here. But there's our low pressure system. Seeing a little bit of a spin there. This is our tropical wave outlook, though. Continuing to see a little bit more of that dry air. Still trying to push all that moisture off over here to the north and the east of the system. So that's why we're not seeing a very, very well organized low pressure system or anything. The European probabilities here of a tropical depression in the next 288 hours at least. Over the next 24 to 72 hours out, the European model does say a possible tropical depression could form over here, kind of just off the coast of Texas with the best possibilities, then starts to die down very quickly. Then we head into 96, 144 hours out. Pretty good odds that we could be seeing a tropical depression here form over in those hours, heading into around 5, 6, 7, 8 days here. Possibly by turning this weekend, we could be seeing a tropical depression, tropical storm form over here, but then some models actually bringing it over here into the northern Gulf of Mexico. But you kind of can see kind of a little bit of a split here that we could be seeing a possibility for something to come up in the northern Gulf of Mexico. This tropical wave is not moving too quickly, so that's why we're seeing a little bit more of a different scenario here with the tropics with this. But as you can see, majority of the Euro ensembles do not have any system forming right now off the coast of Belize or the Yucatan here. We'll continue to bring it over here, possibly turning into the Gulf of Mexico and hitting possibly the United States. So definitely that's why the Gulf Coast needs to be on the lookout. This is obviously not a forecast right now, but it's something to be paying attention to as we go on throughout the next couple of days. But we've started to see a lot of consistency from the European model, bringing these spaghetti models stretching all the way over here from parts of the Florida Panhandle all the way over here into Texas and Louisiana. So something to be paying attention to, just because that chance is on the table. Obviously, we're still constantly seeing right now some very, very hot water temperatures that we're still watching. You can see the western Gulf of Mexico, 31 degrees Celsius, one of the hottest spots here on this map. We can clearly see once it pushes off over here to the northeast, if it happens, we could be seeing it head into a little bit more of the cooler waters over here in the Louisiana region. But obviously right now we don't exactly know if we're going to see that turn happen, but there's definitely that possibility due to some of the spaghetti models bringing it in. So definitely, if you live in kind of just this Gulf Coast here, you really want to keep an eye out on this tropical system just in case if that northern turn happens. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly right now here for the for what it's supposed to be right now. We do have a below average water temperature kind of off the coast here of Louisiana. We have majority of the rest of the Atlantic. I mean, a little bit of a below average over here by the Bahamas, but as you can clearly see, the Caribbean here as well as the southwestern Gulf of Mexico is highly above average for this time of the year here, and we're going to constantly see that with no cool downs really anticipated to kind of happen at this time. Taking a look at the model runs here, we've been seeing a little bit of different type of scenarios going on throughout the next couple of days. The GFS model, we can clearly see still having over here still a little bit of rainfall happening over here in Texas and Louisiana. That is a little bit of tropical moisture still continuing to head into Louisiana. They're dumping some pretty heavy amounts of rain, but does bring up a low pressure of 1,009 millibars, pushing all that moisture up here into the northeastern side, bringing it to Mississippi, Alabama, and parts of Georgia. Then we see there's that low pressure system. The tropical wave does move into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. And we're going to constantly see that tropical moisture kind of go into Mexico here. The GFS not really bringing a more of a northern storm here according to the 12Z that is now coming out right now. The reason why I would say that is because we do have a pretty strong high pressure according to this GFS model, and that's going to obviously force our storm off to the west here. So Mexico definitely needs to be on the lookout for this as well, because we could be seeing really just this storm heading into into Mexico and not really having that time to pull up to the north due to that high pressure sitting right over the United States. So that could be protecting the United States, but definitely bringing some issues over here into Mexico. So something to be paying attention to. It all depends on the speed of the system as well. Heading into the total accumulation, though, of what we're anticipating from the GFS model, we can clearly see heavy amounts of rain will continue on over off the coast here of Mexico, reaching possibly up into almost a foot of rain, and then a lot of, possibly even a foot of rain over here stretching from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle coast. That could be associated with that tropical moisture, and is also with the system that is, expected to head into Mexico according to this GFS model. A little bit of energy will kind of split off and cause some flash flooding here in parts of the southeast as well. Taking a look here at the European model right now, this is from earlier this morning. We can clearly see there's our tropical wave. Still, once again, the GFS and the European tropical moisture really heading into Louisiana. That could be causing a little bit of flash flooding. Then we watch the tropical wave move into the western Gulf of Mexico here, and you kind of can watch it here. We currently see it right over here. This is going to push off over here to the northeast. We're going to see a little bit of a different change here. And then bringing to 1,010 millibar possible tropical system kind of just off the coast here of Louisiana. But still, that European still says that high pressure is still there, but we do have a front that kind of comes down, so that could cause the storm to pull off into the northeast of Florida. So, and that's what we're seeing, most of the tropical moisture heading into the Florida, according to earlier of the European model. Is this anticipated? Obviously, we're still very far out right now, but the European model here for the precipitation, very heavy amounts of rainfall off the coast of Mexico here, definitely reaching over possibly even maybe 2 feet of rain. Then continues to move off over here to the northeast, a little bit more of a eastern push, I would say, than what the ensembles are saying, but definitely a lot of that moisture could be definitely bringing a lot of flash flooding here into the Florida Peninsula and possibly even into the Florida Panhandle, possibly reaching 6 to 12 inches of rain here by September 13th, really. So that's something to pay attention to. Taking a look at the spaghetti models and really just the ensembles here on what we could be anticipating. Obviously, we don't have no invest yet, and we don't really have a closed center yet. So obviously, it's something to pay attention to because these models are going to be flip-flopping back and forth. But we're starting to see a little bit more consistency when it comes to the European model. Taking a look at this, though, we can clearly see September 10th. There is a pretty good amount of, ensembles still bringing it into the western Gulf of Mexico forming. And then we clearly can see, kind of has them lingering for a little bit here, but then we kind of see them really kind of just fan out here in the northern Gulf of Mexico. Somewhere in this region, they could be making that landfall. We have some bringing it into eastern Louisiana, some bringing it into Mississippi and Alabama, and some even bringing it into the Florida Panhandle. So no matter what, this most likely will not be too of an organized system here. We could be still seeing a tropical system, though, heading into the Gulf of Mexico and possibly even in the northern Gulf, according to the European model, and has been pretty consistent on that for sure. Obviously, the biggest question is when will we start to see this consistency? It's a very big question, but obviously there's something to be paying attention to. We've been seeing a lot of bounce backs with the model runs, at least, saying, hey, we could be getting a possible hurricane in the northern Gulf. Hey, we're just going to see a tropical storm or tropical depression in the northern Gulf. So it's a very, very big question here. The GFS ensembles, really not. We have a couple that most likely will bring it off over here to the northeast. We have a couple, but majority kind of saying it won't even form, or it will just head into Mexico. So a little bit to be paying attention to here. We kind of can see that, and then, you know, it seems like over here, 384 hours out, obviously this is very far out, we could be seeing something over here in the Gulf of Mexico. So we're waiting for hurricane season obviously to pick up here, and that's the big question here. Mexico, the eastern coast of Mexico, needs to be on the lookout. Same with really through Texas all the way through Florida. So the whole Gulf Coast needs to be on the lookout here, as we're seeing different, you know, scenarios really happening at this time. We see the GFS, you know, the GFS models are kind of just going crazy. GFS models bringing it really just into Mexico. Some do bring it up to the north, but then you have a whole different scenario when it comes down to the European model, saying it's just going to really go off to the north. So big questions obviously are still on the table. No matter what, we're going to see probably some heavy amounts of rain over here in the next couple of days. For Belize and the Yucatan here, and then we'll continue to push off that moisture off to the west here if it does not form in this region right here. But then Jamaica as well today, we'll be getting some pretty big thunderstorms heading into tomorrow as well. Tropical wave starting to move through the central Caribbean here. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to follow my X page down in the description here for the latest updates, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Thank you, and bye-bye.